Welcome to the Maria Liberati Show, where food meets art, travel, and life. So today I have as a special guest Melanie Sue Hicks, and she is an author, a speaker. She has a consulting company called In Pursuit, and she has a really interesting book out. I'm going to let Melanie tell you about it. And if you love to travel, even if you don't, if you just like to read about it, you want to stay for this interview. So, Melanie, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great. So, Melanie, tell us about your book. Your latest book is called?
Sure. It's called Incongruent Travel,
Uh-huh.
Trauma, Transformation.
Uh-huh.
And it's really an exploration of figuring out how to build a personal legacy. So for me, it's a memoir. So it's my
Uh-huh.
story, but what I hope readers take from it is thoughts about their own journey and thoughts about their own legacy building. So
Uh-huh.
I do not have children. And so upon discovering that that was going to be the reality, it sort of sent me for a little bit into a tailspin because I had this life pictured like many, I think women do, of kind of getting married and having a family and having a career and a house with a picket fence. And that's not really what my life has ever looked like. And it certainly
Uh-huh.
wasn't what it looked like at 40. And so I just had this moment where I decided, what are the things that make up my life and how do I make sure that I'm turning that into an intentional legacy? And the one thread, or actually the two threads that had been around since my childhood was travel and giving back, service to others. And over the years, it started literally as a child. I traveled all over the U.S. and Mexico and Canada.
Uh-huh.
With my family on summers when I was very young. I also did a lot of community service when I was young, and including international community service, going on trips to do service in other countries. And I looked at those two things and thought, this is really what lights my soul up the most. And
Uh-huh.
so I took a trip to Nepal to trek to Everest Base Camp. And
Wow.
the book is really set. The backbone of the book is that journey. So it's 8 days up the mountain and 6 days down. And
Uh-huh.
each step along the way, I was reflective of other travel I had done and other life lessons I had learned from travel
Uh-huh.
and other ways that I had given back. Some of that travel was, just personal growth, and some of it was service work to others. And so each stop along the trek to Everest Base Camp, I reflected back on other life lessons and really some of it is traumatic, right? We go through things in life. I've been through some traumas in life, and I was
Yes.
able to use both service and travel to heal from those and to really
Uh-huh.
reflect on those.
Yes.
And that's really what the book explores. And so for readers, it
Uh-huh.
is both a journey for them to take with me, but also a chance for them to use it to reflect on their own legacy building and their own travel or service or whatever else lights up people's soul, just to be intentional about those things.
Yes. And you answered my question because I was going to ask you how you got the idea to do the book. So it sounds, you gave us the premise of how you got the idea. So, there was one thing I was going to ask you. Oh, the book then is nonfiction. It's a memoir, right? It's not a
It is.
fictional, it's nonfiction. And you said it mainly focuses on your trip to Nepal.
That's the backbone of the book. So the reader will sort of take that trek with me. We talk about each of the villages and each of the main sites that you see along that 14-day trek and kind of
Oh,
what happened to our group. We had some trauma just in our group. We saw a plane crash. We had to ride in a really scary helicopter to escape some really, really bad weather.
oh my
And
gosh.
and then, of course, like the trek itself is up into about almost 20,000 feet. And so if you know anything about elevation, that's very close to what they call the death zone, where it's really very, very challenging to breathe. And
Right.
so you kind of, it's what life is like at that, even for just a few days.
Yes.
And so there's a piece of it that is certainly the realities of what that adventure was like. But then
Yeah.
there's also, a lot of reflections into other trips and other adventures.
Other adventures that you did. And I just mentioned to you before we got started that I always thought of I have traveled a lot, and I probably will be starting up again because during the pandemic I stopped. But It was always very therapeutic. Most of my travel was revolving around work, but it was just so uplifting and therapeutic when I would travel. And, I recommend to people all the time, if you can't, even if you can't go far, you just go to a space that might not be your normal, like home,
Yeah.
and get away from it all, even if you can, just for a couple of hours, and you can kind of clear your mind, and you just start going on a different path, and it frees your mind to think about things. So, and of course, if you do go to places like Nepal, you are getting out of your comfort zone. You have to really push yourself to, obviously, you have to do it in a safe way, but the other
That's right.
benefit is you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, and really exploring the world. So what would you recommend, I guess, to someone that wants to use travel as somewhat like as therapy, somebody that just needs,
Sure.
there's some stress going on. Obviously, we're not giving medical advice. So if you need
No,
medical
no,
advice, you need to
no.
take that, on your own. But to do, just as I said, if you have some stress and what would you recommend for somebody as kind of a start to just try, using it as a little bit of therapy?
Sure. So there's really three main things that I would recommend. And the first is know what kind of traveler you are. What makes you relaxed and happy and inquisitive
Uh-huh.
versus what brings you stress. So I actually love cities. I love the hustle and bustle. I love to sit in a coffee shop and people watch. I could do it for hours.
Yeah,
So I know that that's relaxing to me in a way that other people will find cities to be chaotic and not relaxing, right? So first and
exactly.
foremost, know what kind of traveler you are and embrace that. So if you're going specifically to try to kind of, do a little self-care as part of the travel, find the right environment. If it's on a tour where you don't have to plan anything, great. If it is completely secluded by yourself, if it's with nature, if it's in cities,
Yeah.
whatever it is, find, be really honest with yourself around what will bring you the most peace and the most joy, and do that. Start with that as a basis for even beginning. And
Uh,
then second, I would say, yes, push yourself out of your comfort zone. We learn so much about ourselves when we step out of the things that are really comfortable. So do some things that are off the beaten path, right? If it's nature, do a harder trail than you thought you could, right?
yes.
I mean, prep yourself, read about it, take water, take hiking poles if you need them, but do something that pushes you just a little bit. If it's a city, don't just stick to the tourist areas. Find that Chinatown or that other place, eat at a restaurant, a cuisine that you don't have in your hometown or that you haven't experienced yet, and just try it and be okay. And you know what? Sometimes you may go, oh, that's not for me, but that was okay because you explored it, right?
Exactly.
I have definitely tried cuisines all over the world, and I try to try interesting family-owned restaurants even in domestic cities. And
Uh-huh.
sometimes it's not, I don't order properly, or the restaurant wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, and that's okay, right? it's
Yes.
it's still a fun experience to say, hey, I tried this. And so I
Exactly.
would say push yourself, whatever that looks like for you. Don't be afraid to get out of the tourist areas, get out of the norm, and
Uh-huh.
really kind of push yourself emotionally, physically, or intellectually. One of those at least, if not all of them. And
Uh-huh.
the third is consider giving back. And so there are ways to add in service to your travel. There are such a variety of ways. So even if you're traveling just from one US city to another,
Right.
like ask yourself what makes you passionate. Are you passionate about, animals? Are you passionate about children? Are you passionate about literacy? Are
Uh-huh.
you passionate about the elderly? Find a nonprofit doing the work on a regular basis and find out how you can volunteer. Even
Uh-huh.
if you don't wrap your entire trip around that experience, just
Uh-huh.
just find one organization and say, can I volunteer on, I'm going to be there on a Tuesday, I'm going to be there for a week, how about a Tuesday, can I come in and volunteer? And just talk to people. I have a friend who took up volunteering at a homeless shelter, feeding breakfast, just doing breakfast. He's an early riser, and
Uh-huh.
he had never done any service work in the past. And he just one day decided to go and start doing it. And now it is literally the love of his life. He loves waking up. He loves talking to the people that come through the doors. He loves the fact that he's giving them a hot breakfast,
Uh-huh.
and giving them a smile. And there's something special about that. And it may not become part of your, everyday life, the way that the example I just used, but you can do it once and just enjoy the experience and realize that it gives you perspective and empathy, which allows you to give yourself grace and empathy, which is part of healing, right? We have to own our mistakes. We all have a piece of our own suffering, right? Things happen to us, but we also react back to those things. And so there are pieces of life we can't control and pieces of life that are in our control. And giving to others gives you a chance to reflect and have empathy for others, which allows you to have that reflection and empathy on yourself.
Exactly. And I think another thing about that too is the best thing to do when you're traveling is try to live like a local wherever you go, because you get to really experience the place more than that's the whole benefit of traveling, is to get to experience the true culture. Even in the United States, different cities have their own culture, right? So if you volunteer, I couldn't think of a better way to experience and talk to people and also do some good work as well. But you also get to meet some locals as well. So that's great. Yes, I forgot that part of the puzzle to actually volunteer as well and do some good work. That's great. So Melanie, tell us, do you have a website, or where can people find the book?
Sure. You can find the book on Amazon or Barnes and Noble. It's Incongruent Travel, Trauma, Transformation. And my author name is just Melanie Sue. So you can find it there, but you can also find me on LinkedIn or Instagram. On Instagram, it's In Pursuit Mel Sue. And at LinkedIn, Melanie Sue Hicks, PhD. Any of those, you can find me there. I feel free to message me. I love talking to people. I love hearing about their travel experiences. So don't be shy. Reach out to me and let me know about your service work, about your travel experiences, or ask questions. I'm happy to help in any way.
Great. Thanks, Melanie. And we'll try to put some of those URL addresses on the website for the Maria Liberati Show at themarialiberatishow.com. Great. Thank you so much for being a guest, and keep us apprised if you do another book. Please reach out and let us know.
I will. Another book's in the works, so happy to do that.
Oh, that's great. So keep us posted then.
All right, great. Have a great day. Thank you.
You too. Thank you. Thanks for listening to the Maria Liberati Show, and thanks to my special guest this week, Melanie Sue Hicks, and as always, thanks to my producer, Britton Roselle. And you can find us, you can find the Maria Liberati Show on our new website, themarialiberatishow.com. You can find me at marialiberati.com, and you can find all my award-winning books there, my book series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking there. And you can also find my book series on Art of Living, primamedia.com, as well as Amazon and Kindle, and really anywhere books are sold online. And you can also find me on Facebook at Chef Maria Liberati, on Twitter at Maria Liberati, on Instagram at Maria Liberati, on YouTube it's the Maria Liberati Show channel, on Vimeo it's actually Maria Liberati on Vimeo, on Roku it's the Basic Art of Italian Cooking by Maria Liberati channel, and let's see, I forgot Pinterest, that's under Maria Liberati as well. And as always, if you find anything interesting in this week's segment that you'd like to share, please take a photo or do a text message on social media, hashtag it the Maria Liberati Show, and we will share it on the marialiberatishow.com website. And if you have any suggestions for a guest or any questions, you can always email us at info@marialiberati.com. Until next time, peace, love, and pasta.